A recent report by Unleash Prosperity shows that New York and New Jersey have lost billions of dollars in taxes due to an exodus of residents in recent years. They found that from 2013 to 2022, New York lost $517.5 billion in resident incomes, while New Jersey lost $170.1 billion in that same time period. Now, where are they going and why? Joining me to discuss is Angie Wong, Miami GOP Committeewoman and Republican strategist. Angie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, despite the recent election results, states like Florida and Texas have been seeing a noticeable increase in residents since at least 2022. Now, politics aside, what are some of the reasons why people have been leaving these two northern states?
Well, certainly politics is wrapped up in this, but more importantly, I think Wall Street is trying to find a new home. So Wall Street has left New York and Chicago and finding homes where I am here in Miami. We're seeing lots of PE firms, lots of VCs, and lots of Wall Street firms opening here, and really enticing all of their employees to leave these blue cities to come to a red state like Florida, mainly because of income taxes. There's no state income tax here in Florida, and also just a quality of life and the cost of living is, much lower than other cities that we've seen. So I think those are great enticements. Clearly, we're seeing a mass exodus. It's no longer necessary to be in some of these used to be cities. I'm from New York. I left New York in 2020 to move down here to Florida. And, we get the same comforts as we do also in New York. So I think a lot of families, especially some of the higher executives, are seeing the same things. You get a lot more for your money here, you get a bigger house, and you get a better quality of life.
Well, New York in particular has had a high and consistent rate of residents moving out each year. And for at least the last 10 years, the reason has been crime and affordability. But in recent weeks, there's been more discussion about how socialist policies may drive people away. So the mayor-elect of New York, Zohran Mamdani, won on a platform of affordability, yet some residents and businesses are planning to leave. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, and I was just coming off a plane from LaGuardia Airport in New York, and I will tell you, I was speaking to my neighbors. A lot of them are Jewish, and they are looking for second homes in Florida. Should Zoran Mondani really play out his socialist fantasy in New York City? A lot of people go back and forth. He may do it, he may not do it. Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York, may allow him to push through a lot of these free policies. But there is a bit of a scare because I think the media, as well as the campaigning of Zoran Mandani, seem to be a little bit anti-Jewish. So I don't know if if that was just campaign rhetoric or if that is something that he wants to implement in New York City. I hope not, because it's one of our biggest Jewish bases. So I don't like that, but they are looking for second homes, and certainly the realtors in Florida are super busy.
So you're saying Jewish residents of New York are looking for second homes in Florida?
Yes, and I saw a plane full just this morning, getting on the plane today, and that is exactly what's happening. And also speaking to my Jewish friends in New York, everyone's a little bit nervous because, again, if you haven't lived through several campaigns before, you don't know if it's campaign rhetoric or if this is a reality for New York right now. Clearly, we do all sorts of things during campaigning to push out the votes, including fear mongering, and so I generally tell people stay put just to see how this plays out. I don't believe that New York City is going to suffer the way that a lot of people do. But again, if people feel fear in their hearts, they're going to leave. And that happened. We had a mass exodus during COVID. Lots of New Yorkers moved down to Florida during that time, mainly because of the shutdowns, right? And Florida had much, much more relaxed rules about this. You could walk on the streets. You didn't have curfews, and the shops were open, things like that. So I think people really look at that and say, hey, that's the kind of lifestyle I want to live. I don't want to be feared and be locked in my home all this time because my government tells me that. So I think Ron DeSantis did a fantastic job in looking at the scientific measures of what was going on during COVID, but also allowing people to live their lives.
Well, let's talk about Mamdani's platform a little bit. Now, one of the biggest promises he made was to lower everyone's costs by having government-run grocery stores and free rent. So why would those solutions to affordability cause residents to leave?
Yeah, and those are just pipe dreams. Like, you're not going to have free rent. I think people who bought into that really bought into a fantasy. You're not calling up your landlord come January 1 saying, I'm not paying my rent this month. I hope people do not do that. What he's talking about is a rent freeze as far as any price increases. But again, the nuances may not have trickled down to the average voter. So I think those things have to remain in place. And I think Kathy Hochul was the adult in the room to say, hey, hang on, no one's getting free rent here. There might be some freezes on increases, but nothing beyond that. As far as free grocery stores, things like that, remember, you have a state legislature that has to pass these things. And you have to have Governor Hochul sign off on these things, and also a city council in the way. So there's a lot of things that you could say, throw around free stuff. It sounds great. Will he get any of it done? I would be surprised if he did. I really would be.
Well, Fox News recently said that 9% of New Yorkers had planned to leave the city if Mamdani won the election. Now, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis suggested to Fox News that he would continue to welcome New Yorkers to Florida as long as they don't bring leftist politics with them. So do you think that it's mostly conservative residents who are leaving New York and New Jersey?
Well, I'll tell you the part of Miami that I'm in, Brickell, which is the #1 area code moving to my district, which is downtown Miami, and Brickell is 718. And that is Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, Staten Island, moving to Miami, bringing down their cell phones with or phone numbers with that number. So we know that there's a big constituents coming up from north down to Miami, and whether or not they're bringing their politics, that has yet to be seen. I've run a few campaigns here and we've gone through a few elections. Generally, what I'm seeing is that they don't get involved in politics down here, not as much, or they vote independently. So I think there's not necessarily a crossover of bringing blue policies here. They're not very welcomed. And being a Miami GOP committee woman, I certainly would be the first one to talk to them to try to change their minds.
Now, while this migration benefits southern states in terms of resident incomes, there could be some disadvantages in areas like the housing market and the economy. So how do you expect Florida to deal with these kinds of changes?
Well, over the last decade or so, there's been a lot of housing developments. We've probably have about at least 20 new buildings coming up in my district of downtown Miami. These are residential towers. There's a lot of boom, a lot of money coming in. In fact, airlines are now rerouting to do direct flights to Miami Airport because of all the money coming in. So we're looking at Miami being the new world city. We have a lot of money coming in already from the South in South America, but also now in Europe. And now we're hearing a word that perhaps a few Asian airlines want to get involved as well because they realize that Miami could be the new Wall Street. And we're certainly seeing that with the tech boom and a lot of the Wall Street offices moving down here. It's been fantastic to see. Yes, there's some infrastructure problems that we'll have to work out, but housing won't be a problem. There's plenty of housing here. It's more about the schools and also our roadways to accommodate all these new residents.
Well, hopefully Florida can continue to thrive and it won't impact the economy so much. Angie Wong, Republican political strategist, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.